Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm here to talk about active shooter. I've been asked a few times today if I'm stressed out about this. I'm stressed about putting 200 slides down into 20 minutes. So we're going to get moving.
Engine 8, Battalion 1 on a shooting, 9 George 2, Century Theaters, 14300 East Alameda Avenue. Engine 8, Battalion 1 on a shooting, Century Theaters, 14300 East Alameda Avenue. Crosses South Abilene, respond on TAC 2. Engine 8, fire dispatch.
Engine 8.
Engine 8, Battalion 1 and Medic 109. PD is requesting you at Expo and Sable. I still do not have a request entry. We just are having units get into the scene now. There may still be somebody actively shooting.
91 copy.
109 copies, Expo and Sable. Engine 8, Battalion 1, Medic 109. They need you hot to the front of the theater. So far, we have one party down. 109 copies. And Engine 8, we may have additional victims. We're starting a second ambulance. And we're actually starting a third ambulance routine as well, and all kids are headed that way.
The question is, are you ready? Now's not the time when that happens to start getting ready. That is Century 16 Theaters in Aurora, Colorado. 12 dead, 70 injured. Started out as one person shot. Single engine, single medic unit response. So what is an active shooter? Active shooter is an armed person who's actively engaged in using deadly physical force, and being the key word, they're continuing to do so with unrestricted access to additional victims. So we've had them around here. We've had them in Gresham, Troutdale actually. We had them in Clackamas. We had just Roseburg not too long ago. So these are more prevalent than you think. We're looking at one of these a day almost on average. Where do they take place? Educational facilities, 24%. We hear a lot about school shootings. And I think that's because we're just in awe that this is happening to our kids. But only 24% is in educational facilities. Commerce, 45%. Government buildings, 10%. And then other places, churches, houses of worship, residents, open spaces, fill out the final 20%. Really, it became a big news story for us in the United States back in 1999 when Columbine High School happened. I was on a SWAT team at the time as a SWAT medic, and for 2 years, all we did was practice school shootings after this happened. And we did it wrong. We did it wrong for those 2 years, and we embedded it in us to do it wrong. We didn't know we were doing it wrong. The entire country was doing it wrong, but we were doing it wrong. At Columbine, there were 12 students killed. A majority of them bled to death, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. One teacher was killed, 27 additional injuries. Virginia Tech, in 2007, 33 killed and 25 injured. Then the one that we just heard, the Century 16 Cinemas, 12 killed, 70 injured. Everybody know what happened there? Opening of Batman. Heard that story? Came in dressed up, thinking he was part of the act. Umpqua community, earlier this year, just a couple months ago, 9 killed, 7 injured. And then just a couple weeks ago in San Bernardino, California, 14 killed, 21 injured, and those numbers are changing a little bit. So what have we learned from these? We've learned that police tactics needed to change. When I was on the SWAT team, what we did is the patrol officers would get there, they'd wait, SWAT would get there a half an hour later, we'd form up a team of 5 to 7, call it a kill team, and go in and search for the shooters. It wasn't working. We found out that EMS tactics needed to change to go along with the police tactics. Time is of the essence. Victims were bleeding to death. That's why we couldn't wait. That's why things needed to change, because victims were bleeding to death inside these schools and other buildings. And then, sadly, combat casualties in our war against terror assisted us in gathering some of this information as well, as far as EMS-wise. So how can we lower mortality and morbidity in future incidents? The police need to enter immediately and stop the threat, and that's what they're doing now. They're going in, 1 or 2 officers going towards a threat, listening for indicators, listening for noises, listening for gunshots, listening for screaming, and they're going towards the threat. We need, as EMS, we need access to the victims, or they lay in there and they bleed. It needs to be a coordinated effort. We need to prepare for it, we need to plan for it, we need to practice it. So the question is, it's going around all over, and I taught this at our organization, and I've taught it for a couple other organizations, and the question is always, is it our job to enter these situations to get victims out to definitive care? And you hear things like, no, that's not our job, it's not safe for us. And I'm going to go back to Cody's talk a little bit ago. We didn't get into a safe job. We got into a job that was dangerous. We may not have known, some of us, what kind of danger we were looking at, but it's still a dangerous job. So, is it our job? What's our mission? Cody also talked about our mission, about protecting lives and property. We do all these things, right? We go to fires, we go to accidents, we do technical rescue, we do hazmat. Isn't this just another threat to our community that we're sworn to serve? I think it is. International Association of Firefighters has looked into this, along with the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and the International Association of Firefighters has decided that the use of NIMS is important, nationally accepted protocols, rescue task force is okay, and that's what we're going to talk about here, appropriate protective gear, and there's some debate there in what is appropriate. Fire and police need to train together and use a common terminology, which is always important in the jobs that we do. So we were tested. I was given the job of coming up with an active shooter protocol because of my history with SWAT. They said, why don't you come up with an active shooter protocol? And I said, okay, I'll do that. And I have a list of priorities when I come to work, and it was down about here. It never got here until June 10th. June 10th was a normal day in Troutdale. About 8 o'clock in the morning, we were starting our normal shift. I was actually talking about our active shooter protocol and about working on it when we ended up going to Reynolds High School. Reynolds High School is the second largest high school in Oregon, 3,000 students and staff. Seniors were not at school on this day.
This is breaking news.
We are following breaking news right now. There are reports of shots fired at Reynolds High School in Troutdale.
Breaking news is a shooting at a high school in Oregon. It is the Reynolds High School in Troutdale, Oregon. This is about 10 minutes outside the Portland area. The shooting happened a little bit less than an hour ago right now. You're looking at live pictures from the scene.
The only thing we know at this point, according to an official that I've talked to with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, this is a tactical event.
So we can see that the Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement officials have arrived on scene. It is an active shooter situation.
And we can see dozens and dozens of responding vehicles right there.
Students have been evacuated from a U.S. high school following reports of gunfire.
ये वारदात ट्राउटडेल के रेनॉल्ड हाई स्कूल में हुई। जानकारी के मुताबिक स्कूल में क्लास शुरू होते ही एक शख्स बंदूक के साथ
They're sort of going building to building and clearing it in a methodical sort of way.
8:05 this morning in Troutdale, Oregon. Sirens blaring, police respond to a high school's call for help.
Priority call, Reynolds High School. Got a report of shots fired in the locker room. At least one person down, medical's responding.
Police on site within minutes, guns drawn, and a SWAT team. Students filing out, hands in the air, their bags searched by law enforcement.
So all of a sudden, what you thought was just a normal day, you are now national, international news. We now know that on that day, Emilio Hoffman was killed, PE teacher Todd Rispler was injured, and we had a huge, huge potential on that day. We talked a little bit about this. There were 2 full-time school resource officers there at the time of the shooting. We had a huge potential, like I said. There was an assembly right next door to the locker room where the shooting took place that was scheduled to start in the gym, and the cafeteria was full of students before classes. What do schools do in these situations? Lockdown, right? How do you lock down a school where everybody's in the cafeteria and in the gym? Can't do it. Huge issue for us. Things went pretty well for us, though. We had early notification from dispatch. I actually got a phone call from a liaison up there letting me know that police were started and that we were getting dispatched. We got a second engine, a second ambulance started right away, came in as one person shot, at least one down. We had a good awareness of our crews. Something that our organization does not do well is if our radio doesn't beep, we don't pay attention to what's going on. If our bells don't go off, we don't pay attention to what's going on. Our crews were really good this day. They knew what was going on and they started moving and they started getting prepared. Something that went very well for us is early assignment of liaison with police command. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Donning of turnout coats and helmets so that we're identifiable for police. Helmets so we can tell who the company officers are. We had a good location for command and a medical care point, and it was identified very early by the first due engine. If you look at that picture down the left-hand corner, you'll see where our medical care point was. You see the rigs kind of in a circle there, tarps in the middle. That was our medical care point. The shooting took place right in that first breezeway that you see in the middle of the school there. Not the big breezeway, the one to the left. The formation of the medical care point setup was great. Integration with police and rescue team deployment was timely and smooth. We had great communication with police that were assigned us as security. Our rescue teams were ready to go inside, extract victims, and their information that they were sharing with the police was outstanding. I asked them the question, I said, did any of the police officers look at you like, why are you up here? They said not a one of them. Every one of them was giving them information, talking about what they were going to do when they entered the building, and had a good plan. Our rescue teams went and obtained tourniquets and mega movers and combat gauze because they didn't know what they were going to find inside. We're getting all kinds of reports. One thing that you're not going to have is good information on these. You're going to have conflicting information, especially at schools where everybody's on their cell phones and they're texting. It's going to be very hard to understand what's going on at any time early in the incident. We had a member of our rescue team monitoring the police channel, used to be a police officer, went up to the varsity team, became a firefighter, and then he decided he'd listen to the police channel so he could understand what was going on. Location of the rescue team staging area. So this is right outside the breezeway. That's our rescue team set up right behind the brick wall with police there to support them and to protect them. And that's an actual surveillance video. It was a video we took a still of. Each rescue team consisted of a paramedic and a basic. We opened the EOC. It didn't happen in our city, but we cover the city of Troutdale. We opened the EOC not to take command, but as a resource. Great dispatcher performance helped us throughout the entire incident. Our inbound crews were dropping off medical equipment at medical care point. Something we don't think about, but this is really an MCI. How many of you have had training on MCI? Pretty much everybody, right? This is an MCI just with another piece put into it. Active listening on our ops channel. We talk all the time about active listening, about not just listening when your number's called, but listening to what's going on within the incident and listening to what is taking place so that you can be prepared and anticipate what's going to be coming your way. And we had outside agency assistance. That was great. City of Portland was there. AMR was very good with us. However, the biggest room in the world is room for improvement. We had places we could improve. Our rescue group supervisor entered the building on the first team. I lost communication. I was in command. I did not have any communication with the rescue team because the guy that was talking to me went inside the building and his radio couldn't get out. I couldn't even call him on the radio to have him go to Simplex. So that was a problem. We had a strike team of ambulances ordered by an AMR supervisor instead of command. Doesn't fit within the ICS system. Not a huge deal. Terminology of the casualty collection point and the medical care point were used interchangeably by me. I wasn't clear on it. I am now. I wasn't at the time. And then we didn't designate the sides of the buildings A, B, C, D, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, like we do in every other incident. Was it a big deal? Maybe not, but why not be consistent? So we learned a lot from this incident. And when I do my full class, I have a lot of videos. I have a lot of really good information to support these things. But like I said, 20 minutes, I'm just going to go through the high points. Unified command, when I first did this, I wrote, unified command is not going to work. And my boss at the time, division chief, said, you need to change that. You shouldn't say not going to work. I said, okay. So I put it's going to be tough. Gave this class to Clackamas, and the incident commander from Clackamas said, you need to just put up there, it's not going to work, after the Clackamas Town Center. So I fell in the middle. It's going to be very, very hard. Very hard. And it's going to be harder depending on what time of day these things happen. This happened at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. So we had all the administrative staff was there. We had police lieutenants and captains. The chief was there. Everybody was there. So we could liaison with somebody and finally get our heads together. If this happens at night, where you have a nighttime sergeant and a bunch of patrol officers on duty, who are you going to liaison with? It's going to be very tough. You need to prepare for large numbers early, and you're not going to have an approximate count or even close. You're going to get all kinds of reports. You need to be prepared for injuries and illnesses unrelated to the shooting. We were at a high school. We had asthma problems, we had diabetic problems, we had syncopal episodes, we had all kinds of things that we weren't even thinking about as far as trauma. Make sure your rescue group supervisor has 2 radios, be on an ops channel on simplex so you can communicate. Command needs to be assigned to prepare a medical branch if numbers get too big. I kept it, but if we would start getting more people, I would have given somebody a medical branch, had them handle that so I could handle other things. One thing that I did is I tried to monitor the police channel when I was first arriving because I wanted to know what was going on because it was killing me. I needed to know how many patients do we have. Is this really even a shooting? Or is it a fight and some kid called it in as a shooting? I turned on the police channel and I heard shots fired, men's locker room, and I thought, and it just froze me, quite frankly, and I wasn't able to do my job. So I learned that I can't do that. It distracts me from doing what I'm supposed to be doing by listening to that. I need to let that information come to me or have assigned somebody to listen to that information. Lack of police preparation, interest, or presence in the reunification process. They'll talk about the reunification process at a school and getting people to their families, but they don't have the resources to do it, or they don't put the resources there to do it. Think about, for us, it was a high school. Everybody's got a cell phone. So every parent at the reunification site knew if their kid was okay, except for two sets of parents. Our shooter and Emilio's parents. Everybody else knew because they're getting text messages. Think about Sandy Hook. Think about the reunification process there and the type of scene that's going to be and how emotional it's going to be for people. And we need to help with that because they don't know if their kid's going to show up on a bus. We learned about the lack of radio and cell communication inside the building. Need for EMS gear for the rescue teams. We didn't have red, yellow, and green flags on our heavy squad that goes to the MCIs. They were on our car. So they showed up with a heavy squad. It wasn't right next to us, so they didn't have anything to mark their triage areas with. And then we need to research the feasibility of ballistic protection for rescue teams. Again, it's something that is highly debated, and it kind of is a case-by-case basis. We talked about the nighttime hours. Joint training for police and fire is imperative. We have to train together. We cannot wait for this day to happen to train together or even think about talking with each other for the first time. We have to train together. We got to get that early identification, location for incident command posts. Real estate is at a premium at these things. There are police showing up from everywhere. We have got to stake our claim and find an area. And we need to talk to the police so they know why we're there and why we have to be inside. We need to always prepare for the dangers of police response. They're hurrying to get there, and I'm glad they are. They got to stop the guy. So we need to be prepared, though, because they're going to be moving to get there. Don't hinder the police with our response. Prepare for needs of the evacuees. We never thought about that. That wasn't even in my mind for the policy. But what are you going to do with all these people? They evacuated thousands of kids out of this school. They had to go to the bathroom. They needed their medication. It was 80 degrees. They wanted water. So something we need to think about up front. We need to be able to move victims from the rescue group to triage. All right, I can tell I'm going way over. We're going to be dealing with multiple police agencies from everywhere. We need to practice dragging victims. It's one thing to say we're going to move them. It's another thing to actually be able to do it. So remember that fire and EMS will not be successful without police response. to stop the threat and provide security for the crews. But the police won't be successful if they go in there, find the shooter, and let people lay in there and bleed. Okay? We need to have rescue teams, you guys. I'm gonna stop with the slide presentation and just tell you, we need to have rescue teams. We need to put together a program within your organizations where we have people ready to go in and get these people out to definitive care. We learned in Columbine people are dying because they're laying in there bleeding. And I took an oath that I was gonna help protect the public, and the way that we have to do it in these situations is to get in there with police cover, okay? And I have a whole nother hour on that. We're not just running in. We're having police cover. We're working together, going to warm areas that have not been cleared, but they've been secured. Okay? They may not know where the shooter is, but they're saying, he's not here, come get these people. And it's our job to go do that. Get them out. Do the care that we have to do in there. Tourniquets, chest seals, things like that. Things that will keep them alive from there till we get them to triage and get them off to definitive care. I'm 1 minute over. I could go another 3 hours. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.